Working in the Danube Delta, I think it's not really working in Europe. It's more like working in Africa or in South America, in those big landscapes. The Danube Delta is one of the last big landscapes in terms of wetlands, and I love this area. Inside the Danube Delta, in this kind of flooded forest, and you are paddling in the canoe, what I like most is the acoustic part. So the noise, the bird life singing, the noise of the paddle into the water. So it's a really experience that I would say that more than the visual experience is an acoustic experience for me. From when I was a kid, I was still already going to inside the forest or trying to get lost in the forest or in the wetland. And I think this is a nice experience. And of course, I'm so happy and I'm so lucky to have a job that it asked me to go to these last remote places to enjoy nature. This is 600,000 hectares. I really love wetlands and bird life in the wetlands and the lakes and reed beds, but this is huge. In the wildlife, between the different species, there are some species that have a specific importance into the ecosystem, and we call them keystone species. And the beaver, they are the engineers in the landscape. In the rivers, for example, they create dams, and they create places where the fish can breed and the amphibians can breed, and they create new ecosystems. So they're really modulating the landscape. In the Danube Delta, because it's already a wetland, so it's completely flooded, they are not creating those big dams, but still they have an effect in the ecosystem because they are felling down trees, they are eating vegetation, they are opening clearance in the forest. So they have this benefit for other species that the beavers have in all Europe. There was a moment at the beginning of the 20th century, there were like 1,000 beaver in the whole Europe. They were exterminated, they were shot, they were trapped, mainly because of the meat, because of the fur, and also because they have a gland with castoreum, which is a substance that they like it very much in the perfume industry. So we exterminated in Europe. But things change, and because the species protection and the areas protection and introduction projects, now we have almost 400,000 beavers in Europe. And in Danube Delta, it happened the same, so it disappeared. There were reintroductions of beaver upstreams in the Danube basin in Romania, started at the end of the 19th, more or less. So they released 91 beavers. And it was an amazing recovery because after 10 years in the area, there were already 1,000 beavers. And of course, those beavers are expanding and going downstream along the Danube. And the first families are just arriving into the Danube Delta. The first sightings of beavers were in this area 4 years ago. We think that there are maybe 2-3 families, so it's still very small population. It's just the beginning. These species are recovering and they are coming back. This is the beaver nest. It's an old one, so it was constructed maybe months ago, but now it's not being used because we don't find any fresh remains. It's interesting to see the marks of the beaver that have been chewing branches and small trees, cutting them, transporting them by the river or by the channel, and then just putting here. So they are real engineers, they are real architects on the landscape. They are the only species doing this kind of things. Those nests, they can get much higher and much bigger than what you see here. When I got the news from some colleagues that the beavers were back, I was very happy because this is the part of rewilding I love, the good news. And it's very good news that the beaver is back. The beaver is an engineer of the landscape, so it's a species that you really want to have back in the delta. And of course, little by little, they are going to expand into the delta.